It is hard to believe how fast time can fly from 1993 to 2024. But if you go back to that first date in 1993, you'll see just a young whippersnapper with a dream by the name of Tom Gillis, about to tee it up at his first ever Buick Open way back then. And how fitting that all these years later, he announced the end of his competitive career back at Warwick Hills with the Ally Challenge. And it's so fun to catch up with him and kind of pick the brain of the guy who's now got nothing but time on his hands for them. Tom Gillis, how are you?
Good, Bill. Thank you. Yeah, doing well.
Uh, what a fun scene at Warwick last weekend as the Ally Challenge wound down and friends and family were gathered to kind of greet you on 18 for what most likely is the final time, unless you have a change of heart in the days ahead. What was it like on Sunday afternoon for you?
Well, I was fine on the golf course, and then when I got done seeing everybody there, when I went around the corner and they were all waiting for me, kind of in an area where I couldn't see them, all family members and lifelong friends. And that was pretty emotional. And then once I saw my mom and dad that were there, my dad's 86 and you don't get around too good. And I saw him sitting there in a wheelchair, and then it kind of choked me up a little bit. So, but it was a special day, obviously.
Yeah, I would think that you start to I don't wrestle with your thoughts, your memories, and all these faces that you're seeing and remembering what a role they played in the last few decades of your career. I can't imagine holding it together in that moment either.
Yeah, I don't know, I was so into what I was doing out there. I never really, it's the old cliche. I didn't think a whole lot about it. Uh, when I got in the car and we headed to the airport, I was thinking, geez, I remember the first time I played Warwick, the first tour event in 93. I turned pro in 90, but that was my first tour event. I think I shot 79, 75 for 154. And I was so disgusted and embarrassed. I remember me and my best friend at the time, Jack Wintal, still one of my best friends. We worked at Indianwood together, and we just got in the car and headed right to Mackinac Island. Drowned our sorrows, or whatever. We stopped in Charlevoix, then we went to spent the whole weekend there. But that was probably what I remember most about my first experience. I was like so disgusted with it, and and then for it to come full circle like that, it's special. You think about it. I thought about it more the last couple of days, but for that day was a tough day because we had to say bye to my son because he's going up to Alma College to play basketball, and he's a freshman there. He just started school Monday, so it was a very emotional day for me. And then we got to hug him and let him go. It was a tough ride to the airport. His girlfriend was with us, and my daughter Aubrey and Jenny, and it was just I'm still tired. You can tell I look tired. It's been 2 days. I'm still pretty wore out.
Have you always tried to pack the maximum emotional events into one day in your
I know
that's a
it's just
tough
the
way
way
to go.
it felt. It's just
Yeah.
the way it fell.
Yeah. Okay, so take us into the thought process, the decision-making process that had you decide this was that time. Why now?
Well, yeah, no, I think the last couple of years I haven't had very good status, and my play slowly fell off. I've got chronic arthritis in my mid back, my thoracic spine area, and there's no surgery for it. So
Hmm.
it's just made it harder and harder to put the time in. And if you can't put the time in out there, those guys beat the crap out of you. They're just too good. And so I've been thinking about it last year or so, to be quite honest with you, more so the last 8 months, because I've only played 4 events this year because my status isn't very good. And I really didn't have it in my gut to try to go back and reclaim that status. It's really not easy on the Champions Tour. I've done it two ways. I've done it through Monday qualifying. I did it through the Q school one year. And it's just very, very difficult to get that, to do it. And when you lose a little bit of that drive, it's like, well, why would I keep doing this? What's the point of going out, traveling, spending the money? And so it just, I was kind of ready for it. I was okay with it. I had one big goal, and that was I wanted to try to win that senior British Open. And I thought if I did that, I would hang around a little more and pick and choose what I wanted to play. And didn't play that good there, finished 37th. And, so then when Ally called and said, hey, we'd like to extend an invitation to you. And I thought, you know what, this is a perfect time to do it.
Well,
So I don't think I'm going to have any want to come back and stuff like that.
yeah.
I mean, if my back was good, I wouldn't, I wouldn't pack it in because I would consider myself a lifer like that. But sometimes you just got to go with what you got.
Yeah, that's true. And it's not as if you've been cheated, right? I mean, you've had a wonderful career. And I'm wondering as you take some time to kind of catch your breath, get through some of the emotion of all of it, as you kind of, I don't know, even in your own mind, do a retrospective of all the places you've been, all of the successes that you've had. What are some of the highlight real images that go through your mind from a great career over 3 decades?
Well, I think the first time you get that tour card, that's pretty fulfilling. I remember driving to the golf course that day and I thought, geez, my whole career has come down to one round of golf here today. And that was pretty overwhelming thinking about it that way. And I'm like, man. But I had a good perspective that day. I was like, you can't let this one round define you. You've already played 5 years on the European Tour, 7 years, 2 Michigan Opens already, I believe. Like, you can't let that one round define you. But when we got it done, it was exhilarating. It was like just a real massive release off your back. You know what I mean? Relief off.
Was that a Q school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Q school, and it was out at PJ West on the tournament course where they have the island green on 17, and guys were just choking their guts out, hitting it in the water on 17, hitting it on the water off 18. It's just it's a nasty place to try to get your tour card. Very, very tough down the stretch. So to hang in there and handle all that, I was like, well, no matter what happens, at least I'm going to get 1 year to have a crack at it, and that was good enough for me. I mean, maybe deep down I wanted way more than that, I think, obviously at that time, but to get one crack at it for a year, some guys don't ever get that are really good players.
Yeah, to me, it's fascinating to look at the steps or the journey that every professional golfer takes, because the further down the road you get, the harder it is to remember where it started and how you handled those moments of pressure, and how every day can seem to be a daunting proposition because your literal professional survival could depend on the last 2 holes of this round. I don't know where you first learned how to deal with the pressure that for most of us, we wouldn't be able to take the club back. But how did you kind of develop that mentality that is, all right, I got this round. This is an important round for me, but I have to be able to negotiate and to navigate all of the butterflies that are careening around inside my head.
Well, it's an accumulation of experiences for me. That was December of 2002. So I was 34 years old. So I'd already been a pro for 12 years. So like I said, I played 7 years on various mini tours, 5 years on the European Tour, and I went to tour school through those times, and I could never get to the finals. I could never get through the second stage. I didn't handle it very well. I think a lot of it was I never had a dream of playing the tour. I always just wanted to be a club pro. So it wasn't like I prepared at a young age for this moment, So I had to kind of cut my teeth on those mini tours in Europe. And over time, I got hardened and I got to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. And that's really what you have to do at the end of the day is you got to get comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. And I think you learn tricks and tools, whether it's breathing exercises and stuff like that, to be able to handle that. That's how I handled that week. I remember after every round going back to the condo and laying down and doing deep meditation breathing just to try to get myself calmed down. Wasn't too bad on the course during that tour qualifying. It's really tough at night when you're sitting around waiting to go again the next day. It's 6 days. That was back when we played 6 days. So it just keeps coming at you. the evenings were by far the most difficult.
I've always wondered actually from that level of golf, which obviously I've never been a part of, if it is harder between the ropes or back at the condo where you're now replaying the shots that got away from you, or you're trying to figure out how to recapture the really good shots. I mean, the mind can go in a lot of
Oh,
different directions over not just during Q school, but throughout your career. The balance of trying to keep all the gremlins from taking over, I would think would be kind of tiring.
oh, it's exhausting. I remember, it's more when you're going, like for me, it would be more looking into the future in those evenings, tomorrow, how we're gonna play. That golf course is so tough with so many water hazards. I call them landmines everywhere out there.
Mhm.
Like it's hard not to go forward. Like how we're gonna play this hole, how we're gonna play that hole, or your mind just wanders, to some bad things, and especially on day 6, because you're like that's the height of the pressure. And I think you just learn over time how to handle it. It took me quite a long time, just like it takes some guys. There was other guys that took 10, 12. Kenny Perry took forever for him to get out there. And once he did, he had a heck of a career. There's several guys have been like that in the past. Not so much probably now. You're not seeing as much of that now. But yeah, I mean, I just feel blessed that I got a chance to do it. And I actually, like I said, when I turned pro, Mr. Aldrich from Indianwood backed me. I thought I'd do it a couple of years, and then come back to Michigan and get in the business and, be a head pro somewhere. That's kind of what I thought I would do, which I was fine with. But I think some of the hardest parts were after Mr. Aldridge, I had several other backers, and then I settled in with one guy in particular from Red Run who's passed on now. His name is Jerry McWilliams. And I was always worried about the money. I always
Mhm.
remember being worried about the money because, it didn't come from a lot of money and we had people helping us. And, I was always stressed about how we were going to make ends meet and can we get these backers their money back and when's it going to stop? And, those thoughts always were right there at the forefront, you
Yeah,
know.
Tommy, I don't know if all of our audience understands that for many aspiring and early stage professionals, there's an investment process that often takes place where people are literally writing checks to fund your journey with the
Yeah.
expectation of being paid back. And you can talk to this in more detail. I'm guessing that for every player, it's a different arrangement. It just depends on what that handshake was like. But that's a
Yeah.
level of pressure then that reaches beyond my career dreams and now reaches over to somebody else who has literally invested in my
Yeah.
career dream. That's another aspect of the pressure.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you got a conscience, and you don't want, you want people to get their money back, and it weighs on you. Sometimes I wish I was more cold-hearted, where I wouldn't worry about it. It was funny. I remember a couple times I was just about flat busted, and every time thought I was going to be done. And this was like in the first 4 or 5 years I was a pro. I remember one year, I think I had $2,000 left in the fall, and I went down to Jamaica and played in the Jamaica Open. It was $27,000 for first place, and I ended up winning by 5. I beat Clark Dennis and Jim Thorpe by 5 shots, and like here I was, I'm on my way again, you know. And there was a few instances like that for me, and it was just like then you get to a point of no return. You get so far down the road that you're so deep into it. You're like, well, we're not quitting until we at least get 1 year on the tour to show them what we can do.
Um, Over all these years, there have to be a number of times where you came in contact with, whether it was on the range or during a round, a player with a set of skills that just had you watching and thinking, "Oh, that's different." I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
you're one of the world's elite players. That's
yeah.
just the reality of having played on the professional tours for 30 years. But every once in a while, along comes an Eldrick Woods, or along comes a Langer who's going to play until he's 90. Apparently, I'd
Yeah.
love to have you share with us some of those moments where you're like, "What did I just see?"
Well, I remember that first Buick Open, I played practice round with Woody Austin, who was, I think, 32nd on the money list that year. He was a rookie, and I played the mini tours with Woody. I played practice round with him, and he never missed a shot. I mean, I couldn't believe how good he was hitting it. And I thought, man, this guy's 32nd on the money list, and he is that good right now. What does it take to be number one on the money list? Well, he went on that week at Warwick to win, which made me feel a heck of a lot better because I was pretty demoralized after watching the way he played in that practice round. I was like, man, he's so much better than he was when I was playing with him. And then he won. So I thought, well, he was swinging great. He should have won. You know, that was kind of how I looked at that. But another time, my first European Tour event, I was in South Africa in Johannesburg. And in the third round, I was in the last group. I was leading, and I was with Ernie. And that's the first time I ever played with Ernie. And he shot 6 under. He had all 4 of the par 5s and 2, and he made 2 30-footers for birdies and never made a bogey. And it looked so easy. It was just eerie. I'm like, he didn't even stress. There was 0 stress in that round. It was just so easy for him. And so that was a time I really remember that being impressed with Ernie. But to be honest, I wasn't ever that impressed with a lot of players. Like I'd never thought like I couldn't be that good. You know, I mean, the Woody thing was a bit demoralizing because he just absolutely striped it all day in the practice round. But yeah, there's not a lot of memories like that. I mean, Ernie, that was impressive. I didn't see a whole lot of Tiger. I mean, I never got paired with him, unfortunately. I happened to miss him several times. He was either a group in front of me or a group behind me. That's one guy I wish I would have played with. But I do remember vividly that Ernie and that Woody Austin. I'm like, man, I got to get better. You know, I really have to get better. But once I got on tour, there wasn't like a lot of players that I didn't think couldn't be as good as. You know what I mean? But the Ernie and the Woody thing that sticks out to me.
And such different personality types, right? So here's
Oh yeah,
Woody's got the volcano always brewing, ready to explode, and I'm not sure Ernie has a pulse that goes above the mean level. How
yeah.
how do other players describe Tom Gillis from a demeanor standpoint, from an emotional standpoint, from a game standpoint? You know, you've been around him. You all talk to each other.
Oh yeah.
How do you think they perceive you?
Well, they laugh at me because I'm such a free spirit. You know, I mean, I like when we're in the physio trailers, I'm always cutting up, joking. I mean, those guys, and I say this in a good way. They're gonna miss me. They all came up and hugged me on Sunday and go, we lost our entertainment of the tour. Now what are we gonna do? I go, we gotta have to find somebody else now. But I always kept everybody laughing. I would say they probably wondered how I ever got that far, just because I'm pretty high energy guy, and and it's a sport where you should be locked in, and you're always trying to be quiet, calm in your mind, and they don't see any of that from me. But when they do play with me, all those guys are like, man, you're real quiet on the golf course. You're not like anything off the golf course at all. And I said, well, you're trying to get into a Zen state out here, so I'm not like all over the place out there. I'm pretty calm. But there are different personalities. Ernie runs hot. I know him well. He's one of my good friends down here, and we do a lot of stuff together. Our wives, and we do some boating, and a couple other players, Gene Sowers, and so everybody, I think, at times can run hot. Carl Peterson, my best friend on tour all those years, used to say, well, some weeks you can take the punches and some weeks you can't. And I always remember that, because he's so right. Some weeks, like, nothing can get in your bubble. Like the year I lost to Spieth in the playoff, nothing could get in my bubble. Like I was protected well, nothing could infiltrate. And in other weeks, right on Thursday on the 4th hole, you 3-putt or whatever, and you're just so angry, you're like, why am I so angry this week? And it could be, you might be on the road a month. You haven't seen the family in a month. It just, there's always different little aspects that go into it.
Yeah. Love to just throw some topical stuff at you and get your thoughts, because you're always well spoken and thoughtful about so many different things. There was a time, honestly, probably 10 years ago, maybe 8 to 10 years ago, where if somebody said to me, you're in charge of bringing a tour event to your town, you have a choice between the LPGA and the PGA Tour champions, I would have chosen the Champions Tour 10 times out of 10. There's been a little bit of a shift in that equation, and I'm wondering today, if you think that that shift has kind of tipped the scale over towards an LPGA event.
I guess I'm kind of confused at what you mean there.
Which tour right now is kind of riding a higher wave of popularity between those two?
Well, I would think the LPGA is right now.
Yeah.
I think when Tiger comes to the Champions Tour, which he will, he'll
I
play.
think so.
He's not going to play a full schedule, but he's going to play. I promise you that he's going to play. That will change things drastically for the Champions Tour. Once Tiger shows up, the Champions Tour, you need new needle movers, and when it started with Jack and Arnie and Chi-Chi, you had all that, and we're in a little bit of a lull right now with, Freddie's not playing as much. John Daly's winding down. Those two guys still move the needle. You need those stars. Watson was, he hung around for a while, he moved it. You need a few of those needle movers or one big one like Tiger, and that will change things drastically. I think sometimes people view that Champions Tour, that no golf, that it's a closed shop. And I think that in a way, I feel some of the fans are resentment. They have a resentment towards that. And I tried to explain that to our commissioner, like, hey, this tour, when I started watching Champions Tour, I was watching guys like Walt Zabriskie and Tom Morgo and guys that never had tour careers. It was very interesting to me that they could compete with these guys, Dana Quigley's of the world, and you're starting to slowly lose that. They're closing that tour down. They've taken one spot away from the Monday qualifiers now. Now you only have 3. There's been talk about getting rid of the tour school. So, which I'm not for at all. I think you close it down, you're going to lose some stories. And I think there's still good stories out there that guys, like for instance, there's a guy playing the tour right now who's been a club pro his whole life, Rob Labritz. He's a really, really good player. And to me, you lose that. That's not good. And so I hope they don't go down that road that way.
How much is the PGA Tour Champions impacted by the ongoing mess, really, that is the PGA Tour and the Live thing and all of those conversations? Does that have any impact on the 50+ crowd?
I don't think so right now. First of all, that tour, the Champions Tour, roughly is subsidized $30 million a year from the tour.
Yeah.
So we lose money. The Champions Tour is a loss every year. So if we were to have financial issues, the PGA Tour, big financial issues, the first thing that would go would be the Champions Tour, I believe. I think that would be it, because on the spreadsheet, it's right around 30 million a year. So they support that to keep it going. But there's a lot of other entities out there. I don't know if Liv would ever be interested in something like that or not. They might be a reduced field thing, and there's times where I thought maybe that's the way to go. Just pick 20 guys out there, to your best 20 players, and put them out there every week. I'm not for that, just because the type of career I had, I was a journeyman. So I like more spots, but I could understand if they tried to go that way.
Journeyman is a unique descriptor, and some take offense at that. It sounds like you're fine with it and perhaps have embraced it. So how do you define what a journeyman is?
Well, I think it's prototypical of a guy like me of my career who never won on the PGA Tour, had some chances, stayed out there quite a long time, made a good living, was a guy that was hanging around 70th on the money list when he was there. I would consider those, journeyman. I used to not like the term. My mom never liked it, but over time, it didn't really bother me. Like I said to Vince Cellini last week, we did an interview at Warwick. When you're around, as long as like a guy like me who was a journeyman, I would say early on in your tour career, when you just an average player, you maybe get looked down on a little bit. But over time, when you're still around and you're still there every week, even the Hall of Famers are like, there's a respect. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, this guy's still here. Yeah, he must. You don't slip through the cracks and not be good and get to play. You know what I mean? So I think as you get older, we all understand there's a respect, you know, like Ernie and guys like Podrick. I played in Europe with Podrick and Darren Clark and those guys. Bernard, I played in Europe with him. And when you're still around, there's a respect factor. And I'm the same way with guys. I'm like, well, this guy's still here. I mean, he's obviously good. He's been doing it a long time. So that part kind of warms my heart. I like that.
Yeah, well, you can't fake it.
Right.
You can't just slip by. This is not a DEI hire. This is a meritocracy. If you don't play well, it doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter what your skin color is. It doesn't matter anything else. The scores are all that counts. And you have persevered through all of those challenges, all of these waves of technology changes, all of it for so long. I would think there's great pride in whether it's journeyman or world beater. Who cares what the description is? You've proven it.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I think most of the guys on the Champions Tour know you're not going to be sitting in a rocking chair one day, and you're not going to. I don't know how much you're going to be thinking about your wins and all that stuff. Your majors, you've probably already thought about those over and over and over. But what you're going to be thinking about is the relationships. What's this guy doing now? I wonder what he's doing when you're 80 years old. I wonder what Ernie's doing, or I wonder what Podrick's doing these days. I wonder how he's doing. Remember this time we did this, we did that. And the relationships and the memories are be everything that I will miss. Definitely won't miss the travel. Won't be miss sitting in the hotel room. Won't miss struggling with your game at times where you can't find it. That's very, very frustrating. But I'll miss the guys, even the staff, the people that work there, the rules guys. I'll miss all that. That's some of the fun. And I think Tiger realized that after some of his injuries. He's like, I just missed the locker room. I missed the guys. And when he came back, he was better. He was way more approachable, because when that gets taken away from you, you're like, man, I miss that.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's next? If we do a lot of fishing, we're going to do a lot of game attending for your kids. What's the calendar?
Well, yeah, I got some freedom with the schedule now. So there'll be some fishing and I got a junior in high school, Aubrey, and I haven't been home much for her over the years. So I'll be around to see her every day when she comes home from school. That's kind of nice. Spend more time with Jenny, my wife. She sacrificed everything for this. And, I got a couple things. I got a couple interviews. So I'm going to definitely stay active. I still got to work. There's still some stuff I need to do. I'm not flush where I can just shut it completely down. Be nice, but that's not the case. So, no, at the end of the day, though, it'd be more time with family, have the freedom to go see Trevor up in Elma to watch him play. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. And you're going to keep your social media presence alive and well, I would hope, right? Now nobody can yell at you.
Yeah, I don't know. I always tell everybody, I'm telling you, I'm a lot nicer when you meet me in person than I am on that Twitter or that X. I said I get a little frustrated with the state of the country on that thing, so I fire away on there. But like Mike Sullivan, Mike Sully, he's like, wow, Gilly, you're a lot more laid back when we meet you on the golf course than you are on that social media. I said, hey, I'm just a patriot. I care about the country.
Well, you'll have plenty of material to fire off about in the next several weeks. I have a feeling, but really happy for you, Tommy, and congratulations on a stellar career. And cannot wait to see what's next as you enjoy the fruits of all that labor, all that travel, all of that pressure. I would have to think at least for a few weeks, you just get to sit back and put your feet up and catch your breath a little bit.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Me and Jenny are heading up to Prince Edward Island tomorrow to see a couple of friends that they've been asking us to come up to visit them for 10 years. And now we have time to do it. So we're going to go up and spend a week up there. That'd be fun to do stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, enjoy. And thank you for sharing your story.
Thanks, Bill.